Each of the folks on this panel I have known in different parts of my 62 years of being on this earth. Some of them I met just earlier this year, but have known their family for 20 plus years. Right? Some I met because when I worked at Southwest College, they were a student leader, they became a board member, only to find out that their family had helped raise me politically. Right? Some I've known since they were not allowed to be out when the street lights came on.
That be me.
Right? And to turn around and to be in the Inland Empire, excuse me, I was in San Bernardino. I was in Rancho Cucamonga, let me get it straight, at a fundraiser for a friend of mine that's a Republican, and looked across the pool and was like, wait, it can't be. This tall, statuesque sister here who the host was introducing as a muckety mug. And I was like, well, let me go walk up and introduce myself. And then when I got close enough to see, I realized that she was a muckety mug. She'd been bad since she was in 8th grade, so it's all good. And she's good now. Let me have them take a very, what I'd like you all to do is who you are, what you do, and then let us get into some discussion. I'm gonna set a stage that I want us to walk out on. And before I do that, I'll do the same thing. My name is Daniel Tabor, former mayor, former city councilman in the city of Inglewood. Many, many years ago, I got my start running a gang intervention program for the Inglewood YMCA, and then moved on to recidivism and restitution work in the South Bay court systems to try to find a way to not send young people to jail for crimes that really should be talked about, negotiated out, and then some time spent working with the victim to make life better. And then as an elected official, got elected when I was 26 years of age to the Inglewood City Council, the unique experience in and of itself, learned that I needed to help people who were already incarcerated by working with families and friends on the outside. And people began to look at me differently because they were like, well, wait a minute, how are you going to affiliate with that population? You've never been arrested or incarcerated or any of that. And I was like, but what's that got to do with me helping people who, like you and I, have families and friends here who have loved ones there? Why aren't we working together? Why should I separate myself from who they are because I'm here in a position of authority, have the responsibility to represent all the family, not just those I can see on Saturday and Sunday in the liquor store or in the park or in the Little League program, but there's loved ones who I cannot touch because they are locked away. So got involved in that movement and then transferred that conversation to a discussion with other elected officials about banning the box. So 40 years of my life, I was elected in 81, 40 years of my life has been in this area of social justice that I'm excited that people are running to and conferences like this are being had. But as we're going to talk about today, I'm concerned that the game, this poverty pimp game that I grew up calling cards on, that I grew up watching and detesting, has resurfaced, and it's a new game. You know, it's not only in this space, but it's in the medical marijuana space, all right? All that work folks did, I had to say folks because I didn't do any of it, folks did to legalize it, now to only find out that less than 1% of the establishments, of the operations, of the growing licenses will go to anyone who was ever incarcerated through the process. Just shows again how the system can corrupt even the best intentions of folks. So we're gonna talk today in the real. Let me begin by asking this young lady to introduce herself to you, and then we're going to work down that path. And then I got a first question for you after everybody's been introduced.
Hi, you guys. It's still me. I'm Kim Carter from Time for Change Foundation.
Time for Change. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lamont Jackson. I'm one of the inaugural Beyond the Bars LA Fellows. It was my idea to put this panel together because I felt this was a topic that was much needed to be discussed. This can't be about us, this space, criminal justice reform and reentry, and we're not at the table. I just want to thank my fellow panelists and Danny. I got some type of connection to everybody one way or another. And like Kim identified herself when she said, "That be me." That be me. That I'm the former student leader, former elected official, post incarceration. I was on the board of trustees for LA Community College District. And this gentleman here, that elected official that kind of mentored him, is my aunt, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who pushes the line about criminal justice reform on the federal level. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We're going to give it up for everybody after the
My name is Khalid Shaw. I'm founder and executive director of Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace Foundation. And just for those of you who don't know, that sister over there, that be me, is the one. She didn't tell you, but that's a tough girl. You know, peace to you. You know, I'm not going to go into my history, not now, but just briefly, I did about 14 years in California State Prison as a young man. And let me digress for a minute. I chaired the Interagency Gang Task Force for the County of Los Angeles and the South Bay region, over 11 cities, 11 law enforcement agencies. Worked with Brother Danny Tabor, soldier in the community, working with other young brothers and sisters coming out of the institutions, and young brothers and sisters trying to change their lives that were involved in gangs. I chaired the Regional Violence Prevention Coalition, San Bernardino, Riverside, San Bernardino County, Los Angeles County. I've been to Washington, D.C. under former President Bill Clinton, who, by the way, sent more brothers to prison than anybody that I know in modern times. You know, I've had some interesting experiences, and I got to say this while I can say it, because first, I come from a position of gratefulness and appreciation to my community. I love my community, because had it not been for my community, I wouldn't even be here. You know, my son sometimes asks me, he said, "Daddy, why do you work like you work, man? Why do you do what you do? Why do you try to give so much back to this community?" Man, when I came home, I had $200 in my pocket and an attitude. I chose not to be a cat that locked up in PC to walk the main line, so that cost me a little bit while I was locked up. I laid in the bed and heard cats being stabbed to death and had to get up the next day and want to go to school to do something positive. And then come home. Came home in 1985, haven't been back since because of my community. My community. My community. You guys, Danny Tabor, Maxine Waters, the Barbara Lees of the world, and other folks who you may or may not know. But I just want to say, you know, peace. I'm humbled. Thank you for being here. I want to thank my brother for putting this together. And you're talking about poverty pimps. Yeah, all right. Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
I'm going to take that mic. Peace and love. On this end. Y'all, these are on. These are live. These are live. Yeah. I ain't going to stop it. Just want to hold it up for a second.
Yes, sir.
How's everybody doing?
No, it's on because I can hear you over here.
How you really doing? Let me ask you, is there anybody in here over 63 years of age? Okay, well, indigenous people always we respect our elders. So I asked the young brother, for your permission to speak, sir. Thank you. Okay. Can everybody do me a real quick favor? Look to your left and your right, embrace the person next to you and tell them I see you at the top. See you, brother. See you at the top.
See you at the top.
You at the top, black man. First of all, I want to give respects to my esteemed colleagues on the panel. I've got a lot of love and respect for everybody here. Brother Danny, we go way back. Everybody that you see up here, soldiers and soldierettes, generals know generals. So let me just say this. I'm not going to go into depth. See, if you got to tell about yourself, you're not doing anything. Your work tells what people think about you and what you're doing at the end of the day. But we do need to say a little bit, because at times we don't realize what we have before us. We don't value ourselves enough. We don't value the leadership that we bring to the table. Let me say this. Public service ain't self-service. This is not a game. If you stepping into this work, you better be ready to sacrifice. You better be ready to take some hits, and you better understand that you better stay truly committed to the people that you say you serve. This is not about leadership stepping up and qualifying itself as leadership. Those that you serve will qualify if they want you to lead them, and then they will put you under pressure to make sure you got the capability to lead them. Okay. Real briefly, my past, I go back to 69. I started this work in 1969. I came out of some of the most revolutionary militant movements, the Black Panther Party, the Nation, the BGF, and proud of it. No apologies. I'm not here to make people comfortable. I'm not here to apologize, and I'm damn sure not here to let anybody direct what I'm doing and where I'm going, because at the end of the day, the only thing we have is a legacy that we leave. And if we're talking about leadership, true leadership, understand this role is temporary. You better make sure that those coming behind you can take your place, and you better make sure you gave them the tools, the wherewithal, and the protocol to do just that. See, again, this life is not a game. Moving forward in this whole process, as Brother Shaw so well said, I love my community, always have. But our community, we got to change the dynamic. We've got to understand something very important. And what we have to clearly understand is we got to, if we want to achieve greatness, we got to stop asking for permission.
There you go. There you go.
Why have we let others define the reality in which we operate from? And we look around and say what we can't do. Okay? Power speaks to power. And when you step into a situation, that power base will know if you're bringing power to the table. But you better bring something with you. And your work is always going to articulate. Lastly, on all of this, look, at the end of the day, I'm not here to play. I'm 63 years old. And I know I've got to put certain things in place before I get up out of here. I don't have another 40 years. So everything counts. Every move I make counts. Every motion that I make counts. Every word that comes out of my mouth counts. There is no neutral if you're really trying to move a process, develop a system, and put an infrastructure in place. If we're going to put templates that people are going to define themselves by, and this work is going to define themselves by, we got to get busy. So if you playing, if you got people that are playing around you, if you ain't serious, and if you ain't ready to give your life for what you say you believe, you better pack up and you better go out, because you will be called. That's it for me.
Yeah. Nate Williams, that was heat right there. That's heat. That's it. If you ain't with us, get out the way. I'm one of the first juveniles in the state of California that was tried as an adult. I spent 32 years in prison. Michelle Alexander wrote a book called New Jim Crow, Help Me Come Home. She helped me come home because I was set up by the sheriffs out of Compton, California. I went to jail for something I didn't do. And that basically helped me to just give up and just go deeper into gang activities. And I wound up catching a serious case forward. Since coming home, I've been home, November be 5 years I've been home. Since home, I've graduated with my bachelor's degree from CIS. I've graduated from Stanford. Somebody from Compton graduated from Stanford in the Remade program. Halfway through the program, I started my own program to do the work that's needed. My organization is called Choices for Freedom. That's what I believe in. My mission statement is to prevent kids from ever entering the justice system. And with that work, I also run into juveniles like myself that were tried as an adult, so I help adults as well. Yes, but my passion is to help kids. Because my father left me when I was 8, told me to beat a man in the house. He left. He moved from Compton to Alabama because he was going through stuff with my mom, right? I didn't understand what that meant. I just knew as a boy I wanted to go with him regardless of where he went. But knowing now, he couldn't even take care of me because he didn't have a job. He going back to the country, ain't no jobs, none of that, right? Fast forward. I'm here today, and like he said, we need people that's going to be serious. Since home, I've been exploited. I've been exploited by organizations. I don't want to name no names, but I'm sure it's going to come out. As one of the first juveniles, I'm one of the ones that sit and go tell these people my story, while these other people that's established out here ask, what can we do? And these people say, well, what can we do for you? They're giving them millions of dollars. I'm not getting nothing from these people. So that's what prompted me to start my own and push my own program. I don't want nobody to tell my story. I'm going to tell my own story.
All right.
That's it.
So let's give the entire panel a round of applause. All right, so we've got to a point where it's clear that each of you in your own way, collaboratively or individually, have created and worked in a system to help others who have either been incarcerated, who've been engaged in the juvenile justice system, in the justice system or the injustice system, and more importantly, have watched, since being home, have watched folks who have to come and ask, what is incarceration? Have to come and ask, what's it like? How big was the cell? Have watched others reap the benefits of the legislature, both in the state and federally, recognize that resources to reduce recidivism needed to be on the street in the form of grants, in the form of programs, in the form of services, have watched others step up and take that. I want you to say how it makes you feel, but more importantly, I want you to say what you think we need to do about it. Let's get right into this.
Can I say? I'm gonna say a little because I know they got more. But I got funded through my organization through SB 109, and I went through that, and I'm fighting these people to get this money, and then I'm at these mandatory meetings where these other people don't have nothing to do with SB 109 talking about, I don't know why I'm here. Their staff, I don't know why I'm here. They got us giving us 300,000. We don't even have nothing to do with restorative justice. None of this stuff. Reentry. We're into hospice. We deal with hospice. Okay, I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I'm getting refused my application to submit, getting the money, go through so many hoops when it's a lot of shenanigans going on, and that's what I'm triggered by. But they have more that I want to let them speak on about this.
I'll let our sister go out of respect.
Yes, sir.
You know, I guess you could say that it started when I opened up my first house for women coming home from prison, and I had lived in that house myself for like 4 years, and I thought I had knew my neighbors, and they had knew me. But when they heard I was opening up this house for women coming home from prison, you know, they decided to hold a town hall meeting, and they didn't invite me though. So I get a call from a reporter that says, I want to know, do you want to make a comment? I'm going to comment about what? Well, they having a meeting. Who's having a meeting, right? I never been to a town hall at that point. And they had a meeting about me opening up my house for 6 women unrelated. And I knew right then that you was not going to infringe on my rights. I have the right to open up my home according to fair housing laws to 6 women coming from prison who unrelated. And it's not a business because I can't charge no rent because guess what? They ain't got no money. And so when I pushed back on that, from that day forward, I had to continue to push back on stuff. So the idea of getting some money from somebody to help me, that never even crossed my mind because they were so busy trying to just stamp me out. You feel me? But now as years has progressed and we went on, like with Prop 47, you know, how you think it make me feel for Prop 47? We traveling to Sacramento, we are doing videos and all this social media stuff so the money could come, and then they make a law say half got to go to the community, you know, but the lead agency got to be a government entity. Then that government entity put in some old fake grant, you know what I'm saying, and don't even look right, and then come back and say, oh, all the other counties got 6 million, but San Bernardino only got 1.2, right? So then you want me to spend my time chasing behind you with that little 1.2, and you're gonna try to split it over 50,000 folks and all that. See, that's not worth my time because see, I didn't turn into an addict because I waited for a dope man to give me a hit, right? I didn't turn into an addict because I waited somebody to give me a hit. I went and got it. So see, I take that same energy in my sobriety of 24 years and I go and I get it. I go and get it. I'm not sitting around waiting. I see the games. I see the games. You want to get the money to the sheriff department. You want to get the money to probation, and all of a sudden now you want them to be, they say hug a thug. Well, why we thugs? Why we got to be thugs when you got these millions of dollars supposed to be servicing us? But see, you were never meant to serve us. So when I go into those spaces, I always hit them with this. When we have our veterans, because everybody loved the veterans, you know how that money for veterans came around, it was all veteran all up, right? So when veterans been over in Afghanistan fighting against the Taliban, right, and come back to the community with PTSD, do you send them to the doctor and his name got 15 alphabets behind it and he's wearing a head turban? Do you really think he's going to go up in there and get some real services? He can't because he's identifying where he just came from And he can't see this person right here is somebody different than what he just got through trying to fight from. So the same thing with us. Why do I want to go and see a sheriff or the police and say, you supposed to be here to help me? And they be like, well, what do you need? I need a bus pass. Where you trying to go to the bus pass? And why you need the bus pass? Do you got a job? No, I was just going to ride around the bus and see what was out there, you know? Hey, you know, but what about the fact that the money for the bus passes was for me anyway? Like, hello? So you start getting the resources and you hold them hostage from the people that actually need it, right? And this is what they do. You know, I come from a place where they don't give me opportunities. I make it. If I can't make it, I'm going to take it. But I'm never going to ask permission because you will never allow me to be what I need to be.
So I'm gonna keep saying this. So now you guys see why it was so important that I put this. This is a discussion that needs to be had. So I grew up in a family of politicians, right? And in this space right here, working with politicians, we've had these conversations. I've had this conversation with Danny, with elected officials. We're not going to say that behind closed doors. Yeah, we talk about it. Well, no, because I'm talking with them about getting funding for certain programs I'm working. Right. Well, you can talk to them, man. You just turn the camera off, please. Right. Pictures don't lie. But anyway, so, but to piggyback what off Kim just said. So, and Flacco's in here somewhere, I think. I know Javi's in here. But my thing is with 30, 40 years ago, so we'll talk about the Bill Clinton's Get Tough on Crime, right? Hilarious Hillary, you know, I was a Bernie supporter. I was a Bernie California Steering Committee. I was one of his delegates and everything. But after this last election, I'm a progressive independent now. But that's another conversation. Anyway, my thing is 30 years ago, this Tough on Crime, Bill Clinton, sending us away for 30 and 40 years for nonviolent drug crimes. How can we... They're double dipping. So when I say they, I'm talking about the former law enforcement, the former prosecutors. Fast forward to 2017, now the criminal justice reform and reentry's big. Now they had this aha moment, or everybody's getting seasoned, they're getting ready to check out, whatever, right? They're stuck, whatever it is. Now they're experts with telling us what's best for us. After, I mean, let's get real. Jesus Christ is going to come back before some of our brothers and sisters are getting hit in the head with some of these Buck Roger sentences. I mean, you going home. I mean, come on, Khalid. Some of these cats, I mean, I was in the feds. I never did state time, right? But some of these cats are going home. You're going to live long, Flacco. I just mentioned your name and you walked in the door, brother, right? But some of these people are they're not coming back for 3.5 grams of crack. Right? And it's part of this whole prison industrial complex thing. But my point is, how can former law enforcement, how can former prosecutors be considered experts to tell us what's best for us to rehabilitate ourselves? When I was in, I like to commonly refer to it as my 96-month federal vacation, I rehabilitated myself. The Federal Bureau of Prisons didn't rehabilitate me, pardon me. Prison is punishment. Right, even in the feds, I can't even imagine the state, and I always hear all the horror stories. But when you see people that are, there's money now. It's a shitload of money coming down for reentry and criminal justice reform. Shit, it's like I call it Michael Jackson money. Michael Jackson, God bless his soul, he wasn't going to see all his money in his lifetime. So it's that kind of money that's coming down, right? And like Kim said. You know, you have to have fiscal agents. So institutions of higher learning, these public entities, they're going to take their shit off the top, right? And then whatever's left, right. So whatever's left, then they're going to, after they pay their exorbitant fees for their executive directors, their staffs, and their location, whatever's left, then they're going to pay for the services for that population they're supposed to serve. You know, but nobody's an expert. Khalid did his own. He rehabilitated himself. Kim rehabilitated herself. I rehabilitated myself. You know, Michael back there rehabilitated himself. That's my man. You know, prison punished us. You know, the people that didn't take advantage, and had a long talk with themselves while they were down, no matter how long you were in there, right? You came back and you doing the same shit, yo, you going back. That's just the bottom line. But this is the conversation I wanted to have, so I just wanted to say again, I think these are my OG partners. I was born in LA, I was nurtured in the Bay, so these are my OG homies right here. This is my little big sister right here, and that's my big brother from another mother. So these are all experts up here, and I feel that we're all qualified to talk about this, and there's other people in the audience can talk about this, so I'm really looking forward to having this conversation and the questions afterwards.
I'm going to stand with it way back here. Now pass Kim a mic so she can have one of those, because you're not sharing up there. All right, there you go. There you go.
You know, this may seem like it, but it's serious business. It may seem funny, but this is serious business. We talking about resources. You know, I mentioned that I was the first chair of the Interagency Gang Task Force in Region 10, South Bay, 11 cities, under 11 law enforcement agencies for a reason. There's a whole list of stuff that I've been involved in politically since I've been home and since I've been involved in this movement. But as the first chair, I was an ex-con, had been to the penitentiary for a violent crime, violence in the penitentiary because of the lifestyle that I lived. But I was the first chair of the Interagency Gang Task Force. So, you know, a red flag went up right there, brother, you know, trying to figure out what I'm doing, telling the police what to do, right? So I just mentioned two things because what I really, really appreciated was both what brother said and what Sister Kim said. First of all, being in the leadership position in a number of situations, it was my organization along with several other community-based agencies and folks that we hit the ground on. SB 1095, we the one that went up there and boom, knocked that door down. Policy, because you can't get nothing done without policy. And they promised us, and they said at the end of the day, this is for y'all.
Who's the they, Brother Khalil? Who's the they?
Legislators, folks in the community, politicians.
People you voted for?
Pimps.
Oh.
Pimps. That's the pimps I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Poverty pimps, right? Led us to believe, and then I'm going to get to Sister Kim's piece, led us to believe that if we go up there, get this money, finally we'll get our fair share of the deal to be able to deal with our folks and our young people in the community. Well, the reality of it was that didn't happen, just like Brother said. And what it did, it led a lot of people who was really involved and had vested hearts into the movement. It caused them to go back the other way because they saw, you know, game recognized game, man. Ain't nobody playing with this stuff. You know, they go back home, you know, turn on the TV, watch the Lakers or whatever it is. You know, we got to be out in these streets dealing with this issue, dealing with our kids and dealing with our folks. So, you know, that disappointment that I heard in Brother is a disappointment that killed a whole gang of people that would be involved in this work. That's number one. But number two, man, I love what my sister just said, you know, because I ain't really received a grant in about 6 or 7 years, right? Because I made up in my mind at the end of the day, if this is going to get done, I'm going to have to do it my damn self. You feel me? Because, see, they'll play games all day long. They'll set up meetings all day long. All of this stuff, they will write books, put together systems, talk a good talk. But at the end of the day, you know, if you ain't strong enough to stand on your own, if you haven't, as my brother said, built some infrastructure in the community's been taking care of us. We opened in 1989 and have never been closed because the community been behind us. You feel me? We get checks for $40,000, $50,000 from folks in our community anonymously to take care of our babies. Got a charter, just opened up a couple of charter schools. The community supported that. And that's not to say that we should not be going through systems like this, the government. What Sister Kim is doing, Sister Kim, oh man, Sister Karen and Kim, y'all almost the same. Man, this work has to be supported. So I want to say this. I just want to be systemic. This can work if we have our people at the table making decisions, because it has worked in certain situations. But we got to do what we're doing now. Be at the table, be concerned, be consistent. As Brother said, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, man. Peace.
I said I wasn't going to talk much about my history and my past, but I have to. I was fortunate. I didn't do federal time, but I did so much jail time and county time, it was ludicrous. The reason being they didn't have the laws in place when we were getting popped, okay? They didn't have the gun laws. They didn't have the laws. Let's go back a little bit of history here. The prison industrial complex was created to stifle the social movement, the most revolutionary social movement that ever existed in this country. Let's be clear on what was going on in the dynamics of that. They had to take the element, the causatic factor, which was causing people to achieve self-determination, self-reliance, and self-resiliency, and making themselves reliable and taking the ownership for what they were doing in the process. You know, why are some of you surprised? You see what's going on with this prison industrial complex movement and everybody coming out to woodwork. Let me tell you something. I can go back 5 decades and tell you I've seen this over 4 decades.
Yes,
Look,
sir.
my organization, we're gang intervention specialists, bar none. I come out to culture. We done brought together over 200 communities in peace across this nation, Delaware, Washington, etc. And then we took that movement and created a community mobilization movement based on what we learned through the Panther Party and Marcus Garvey movement and others. So now with that said, we're talking about answers and solutions. First and foremost, see, we got too many people that love the glory, but they don't respect the process.
Come on.
Okay? We're
Say-
talking
wait,
about
brother, say that one more time so they can hear.
love the glory, but don't respect the process. See, in this work, let me be real clear. Vision without action is a dream. Okay? I just left the United Nations, where we were called in for the Safer Cities movement to tell these so-called experts from around the world what they needed to do to go into these besieged communities, these marginalized communities, and how to bring them communities back up. Before that, we were at the World Health Organization dropping the law on them because we, as practitioners, had something that they didn't have. And when you step into these venues, you better make sure, as I said earlier, power speaks to power. I don't care what you come in there with. I don't care what type of dialogue you come in there with. If you can't come in there with a self-sustaining infrastructure that demands respect, you're not going to get that respect, regardless of how good your brochure looks, how good your talk is, etc. Now, what we have allowed is others to define the reality in which we operate from. We have allowed
Hold on.
others.
Brother, let me excuse, because I want to stay right on that point.
Yes.
We have allowed
We have allowed others to define.
that.
We have allowed others to define what we operate and how we operate from. They dictate the reality in which we move. And this has been our problem. The reason I said, how many times have we seen this?
Before you explain that, let me make sure the audience is still with you, because I think they might have fallen asleep. I want to check real quick. You have allowed,
Others.
he said we, but you have allowed others to define the reality under which you operate.
See, that's why we ain't in control.
Now,
when you become a preacher?
No, I haven't. I know. See, don't. You know what? I'm wearing these shoes because I'm going dancing with my wife when I leave here. Just let me be real clear. All right. I want to make sure that we get it here, because there's an important point that at the end of this day that is communicated, and that is that the power that others have, we gave them.
Yes,
Right?
we have.
So I want to make sure that they recognize that if they allow it to continue, and we get to another decade of poverty pimping, it ain't a new game, old game, new issue, new time, that is their fault, not someone else's fault.
Well, see, we've
Go ahead.
got to understand that strong ain't wrong. We have a tendency of allowing ourselves to go into these venues and let others dictate what we're supposed to be doing. Look, if you are not a barefoot practitioner, you cannot tell me the dynamics of what I'm up against. If you have never been locked down, if you have never felt the pressure of taking everything away from you that you had, if you have never felt the pressure of not having the freedom to geographically define where you're going to operate from, you can't come in the door telling me you understand the dynamic in which I operate from. See, that's my normal. Don't try to define my normal with your normal. And this is where we get into so much trouble. We've got academicians, we got researchers, and I got some outstanding ones who I partner with, but they're practitioner based. We've got entities that come in to set the tone in terms of how we're going to operate, and they're operating on a false hypotenuse. You don't even have a reality because you can't say at the end of the day, you know the actual outcome of where this is going to end up. So moving forward, answers and solutions. Look, we have got to make sure when we step into these arenas, we create the processes and the systems that are going to define what the catalyst to move the process forward is. We've got to be clear on where we're going at the end of the day. How the hell are you going to get in the car and start driving to Chicago? You've never been there and you don't have a road map.
Come on.
We've
Brother,
got to define
there's a question
the
from the
roadmap.
audience. Let me bring this question in. Right
Okay.
Because
you know
you was about to get on the road map, brother. You was
know
on the
I
road.
roll.
I know you.
Hi, my name is Virginia Barnes. How do we get that power back? You have mayors in the cities that get a lot of money, then they have the husband with a nonprofit organization, and they give it all to the husband, and then they may give a few to the head leaders of the drugs, the pimps, or whatever, and that's where the money stops. So how do we get that money to do right with it? Because they're doing wrong. They don't open up dispensers and everything. Some have been closed.
So, without putting that person, that said mayor out on Front Street, I didn't say that, but yeah, that was a very good question, first of all. But we vote them out of office. But number one, you hold those people accountable. You go to the city council meetings, and there's paperwork. So all of us, paperwork doesn't lie, even though it can be manufactured. There's a thing when you're on the yards, your paperwork is your driver's license. That lets you know that you're solid and you stand up. And I've seen said paperwork about the alleged nonprofit and the medicinal marijuana dispensary, which I'm all pro medicinal marijuana, right? Especially for that particular community because there's a hell of a tax-based revenue for that community. But yeah, you hold those people accountable and you keep going to those city council meetings and you speak during public comments and you ask them about that. That particular mayor is not even from that city, and that particular mayor is a puppet for
You're
some.
about to name names now.
Well, I'm not going to say nothing.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but
I said he could.
Yeah,
I just want to let
I
him
don't
know.
want to, but you know, that particular mayor needs to be addressed,
Held
you know?
accountable.
Held accountable. Yeah, we all are. You know, and the only reason I'm not because for those that do know me, so when I was on the board of trustees for LA Community College District, I used that platform to speak out for all of the wrongs and injustices I saw. You know, I was raised again in a family of politicians. My godfather is a former assembly member, former mayor of Oakland. My aunt's Congresswoman Barbara Lee. So that shit is in my blood, right? When I saw the manipulation of not just the formerly incarcerated student population of the largest community college district in the United States, but of the faculty, staff, and administrators, particularly the people of color in the Los Angeles Community College District, and I can just go on and on. I spoke out.
But let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
You as former elected official,
Yep.
how does someone hold you accountable? What must she and others do to take the power back? That's what we want. I want everybody to speak.
Well,
Not
again,
being afraid of them, not being afraid to say what
but
needs to be
yeah,
said.
Yeah, but you guys voted me in. You can vote them out also. But you talk to them. You holler at them. You know, you let them know that you're not happy with them.
So let me tell y'all what I do.
Come on, because I want to know.
All I know how to do is put you on blast, right?
Go on.
So what I know about a politician, they always want to look good. They always want to sound good. They always want to be read about real good. So what I will do is hold a press conference. I will write my own press release. I will be on the radio and the television, and I will talk about you. And I will be telling the 100% truth. It will be backed up with data and facts. And guess what? They'll be saying, oh, my God, somebody called that Kim Carter because, you know, am I right or am I wrong, Karen, right? That's the only thing I got is speaking truth to power. I don't know no other kind of way. Now, if I want to get savvy with it, I might pull your finances and see who contributed to your campaign.
Come on,
I
come
only
on.
do that when I'm working on state laws. I don't even do that locally because they didn't even worth my time. Just put you on blast and call it a day. I will get in front of that city hall and I will hold a press conference. Because see, what you have to remember, that city hall belongs to us. That state capital belongs to us, and those folks work for us. So I kind of got that inherent freestyle where I feel like I'm a boss. Right, I'm a boss. So when I go up into those rooms, I be like, okay, hold my luggage for me. I'm going to work the Capitol Halls. Can somebody in here print out my boarding pass for me? And I don't be doing a whole lot of appointments, none of that. I'm trying to get with so-and-so. And just like I just sat here earlier in this meeting here, I got a text from my assembly member telling me that our bill got signed by the governor. Now, I had it before it went on the blast with the news because I'm connected to my politicians. Why? Because I have power. Well, how did you get power, Kim? Because I get results. See, power is getting results. If you're not getting no results and getting nothing done, you ain't got no power. You might be in there for a season or a session, but you ain't going to have no longevity. I've been standing for 15 years on this same ground because I've been getting results. Now, this wonderful school of UCLA, I did a pilot project called Positive Futures. I worked with 135 women who were incarcerated 4 months to the gate and 9 months afterwards. And I let this UCLA do that evaluation piece, that UCLA ISEP program running around here somewhere, but I can leave them a scene in them, to come out and do an evaluation, to actually track the processes and the procedures that we was able to do to keep folks from recidivation. Now, to me, I got a national model here. After 3 years and nobody go back to prison, only 2 relapsed and went to a drug program, I have got the cure to recidivism. But do you think the state of California decided to take that program and replicate it? Absolutely not. Because see, what we up here doing is stuff that work. And stuff that work is a challenge to folks who is maintaining status quo.
Come on.
See, they get scared when we walk into the room because we bringing in something that worked and they've been getting by. They've been getting by with getting funny, just sounding good and looking good, without having no results. But see, folks like me, formerly incarcerated, black, and got a mouth, a triple threat. I gotta bring extra evidence. I gotta have Dr. So-and-so stamped on this, and you got me out here building buildings, and you got me out here writing books. I'm an author and all that because for real, my haters made me great. My haters made me great. They made me give you evidence. So when you come into my low-income housing, look like you walk into the Radisson Hotel, or you know what I'm saying, walking around with granite countertops, good carpet, and nice two-tone paint. They be like, is this low-income housing? Yeah, this is the projects, how I built them. Right? They ain't trying to see me duplicate affordable housing up in here. They want to keep them run-down facilities. But see, when you get to become a developer, you get control of that money. And money gives you the power to hire everybody on your own job. You see what I'm saying? But we got to be able to bring those programs to the end. Unfortunately, when I first got around here, the NAACP called me. I was like, oh, my God, NAACP. I didn't know they wasn't doing shit. I didn't know that. I'm just going to say what it is. I didn't know. My time is up. No, seriously, I didn't know. And so, when I got in there, I'm like, come on, like, you know how you guys, we got this injustice over here. We got these murders over here. We got this money being, shited over here. And like, well, hold on. What are we waiting on? Let's go. Hold on. What the? And so now, when they folks try to call me, I'm not even with that. They don't even like me. No, seriously. Because for real, I'm going to do reminding you ain't doing nothing. You in the way. You in the way. Get out the way and let my brothers and sisters up here, they could do some work. The ones that come home that's desperate and dying, and all they got is to live. All they got is to give. There's no other way out. We're not going back in the cage. No more. No more. So we're going to stay out here. We're going to make it work. And sometimes these other folks get in our way. They get these good names like Goodwill and Red Cross and all that. You ain't never been across for me when I was on the cross. You ain't never came to my rescue when I was dying of a disease of addiction, for which there is a known cure. I needed one drug program. One drug program. I've been sober and clean 24 years behind an $1,800 investment. Yet you would spend $60,000 a year to keep me incarcerated? Right. Yes. I had an illness. So when I come out here, I'm coming out here hard.
Boom. Look, Y'all didn't know you was coming to a family meeting, did you? Come on, what you got to say?
So you mentioned like the NAACP. There's a lot of organizations in our community that we don't even know nothing about. We don't know nothing about them, and they just parachute in our community, take this grant money, and start, acting like they're doing something for us. So I have this vision, right? I want to create, you've heard of the BBB, right? The Better Business Bureau. I want to create the Better Organization Bureau. We need to hold these guys accountable that are parachuting in our communities, taking this grant money and this money away from our communities and living lavish lifestyle off of our expense, off of these dollars that are meant for us to help build us up. And that's what's keeping us broken and broke down. You know what I'm saying? We need to get back in the business of building each other up instead of breaking each other down.
All right. We're at an academic institution. Any of you use, what you call it, the Better?
The Better Organization Bureau.
You better cite him and make sure that he gets credit for the name, because I didn't hear any of you say it before he said it.
Nothing about these organizations. We don't know their mission statement, but they'll pop up and be like, oh, I'm for the incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? Why weren't you there for me 5-10 years ago? You know what I'm saying? Why are you going to come out the woodwork now that there's money? And you're going to take the money away and you're going to ask me to come speak at your little event? And you're gonna make, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's horrible.
Call you and tell you can you bring some people.
Right.
Right.
And then turn around and write a grant. I had Flacco and the homie come through and do a speech about Prop 47. I need $565,000, and it happened. I got it on record. It's happened down there in San Diego. So they're taking this money and they're not distributing it like it's supposed to be distributed to do the work. They're acting as if they are, and they're living with their Mercedes Benzes and their nice house out in La Jolla. You know
Before we go to the next comment,
we definitely got to break that cycle.
before we move away from his point, though, any thoughts from the panel?
I just want to amen to what brother just said, because the reality of that situation is they've always used, look, when the gang intervention work first started, we held one of the first county-wide meetings in the state of California at 2930 West Imperial Highway. Steve Harvey was there, making promises that he didn't keep. But check this out. We had every neighborhood, black and Latino, at the table talking peace. And as soon as $1 dropped out of the sky, man, it was like a grenade and blew everybody up. Everybody that was former friends and working together, hitting the streets together with no money, doing what they had to do, wouldn't even talk to each other. So you're absolutely right. We've got to create, and this goes to what brother said, we've got to create systems by which we're all accountable. I love it, man.
Right there, Kill.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want the panel to finish that. And
good
you don't wanna
talk.
lose your point.
Look, people, we got dream busters, vision killers, and success assassinators out there. We have allowed false leadership to move us forward. We have also got to look at ourselves and say, what is our ownership in this process? Khalid just brought a very good point up. Look, at the end of the day, if we have a perpetuated self-hate to where we are trying to destroy each other because I want to get that dollar before he gets that dollar, before she gets that dollar, if we don't come in there with a collaborative of unification, if we don't come in and let the systems design where we're going as opposed to the people deciding what we're going to do. See, when you build systems, what you do is put processes in place, and those processes design the movement. We have leaders who step up, and a lot of them have their own personal agendas. A lot of them don't stay in the motion. A lot of them don't sacrifice. And what happens? The whole movement fails because of that individual that we have allowed to lead the process. This is not a moment. It is a movement. Understand that. And when you build the systems design the leadership that drives the process. So guess what? That leader who is leading the process might be there for a week, a month, a year. But that system will tell that leader when it's time for you to take a vacation, because we need somebody else up in here that's got more expertise, more wisdom, more knowledge, and more understanding to drive this process. Because at the end of the day, we have got to understand collective sacrifice. This is not individual sacrifice. This is not about building building your house on that hill. If you are not going to build for the holistic community and make that community better, and you don't understand that you might have to take a back seat when that movement drives itself, then we are not going to go nowhere in this process.
All right. Thank you.
If I may, my name is Suzette Shaw. I'm a Skid Row resident. I write, talk, and advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. I was displaced to Skid Row just 5 years ago. Now, I preface what I have to say because in LA here alone, and with Skid Row inclusive, you know, we have 9% of black folks who are the entire population, yet 40% are living in poverty and homelessness. 40%. LA houses the highest homeless population in United States of America. We have people living in less than third world living conditions. I don't see none of y'all in my community, but I'm just saying that. But what I'm also saying is that, you know, I sit on the board overseeing Measure H dollars. And I was at all of the meetings in this last year plus, and when Sheriff's Department was trying to get money, was trying to get their hands on that money. And I said, I see exactly what you all are doing. I see you salivating. I see you already lining your pockets. I said, you know, but you spent $100 million in 2015 in the community of Skid Row alone, policing, penalizing, criminalizing people because they simply had nowhere to go. You see, but we as a people, we don't work together. You see, there's one sister sitting on this committee here, right? Sitting on this panel. Because even in my own community, I got to fight with the brothers for my voice and the woman's voice to be heard. And then yet we wonder why black women, middle-aged elderly, your grandmothers, your aunties, are dying out here on these streets, not just year after year, but decade after decade. Because where are our brothers? Are you standing behind us? Power to our people.
There it is.
So, Danny, so young lady, I'd like to speak when you said you don't see. So I work in the homeless community. I work down with LA Mission, Steve Schultz. I work with returning citizens, formerly incarcerated population. I help work with them getting housing, temporary and long-term housing. We create a pipeline from incarceration to education to housing, because if you don't have sustainability, shelter, I mean, just basics, there's no way that you can even function, right? I work with Kunj Marie, General Jeff, and a couple other advocates down there. But that's another population.
There's a lot of predatory pimping is what goes on. And
So-
there's a lot of people even in our community that say, you know, that they're about doing the work for the people, but they're shucking and jiving all at the same time and don't even want somebody like me who was displaced to the community. But at the same time, people come into the community and like you all said, they've got their agendas and they're creating their platforms and their branding behind people living in the most fricked up conditions possible. Yet people are, I mean, and this is just, this poverty, this predatory poverty pimping is going on.
I agree, and that was the whole purpose of this particular panel. My
That's why I
suggestion, yeah, right, that's what I was going to say. Now, in your demographic, in your population in Skid Row, I suggested, and there's other people down there, advocates down there, I would do the same type of conference to get something in your population, another population. I apologize for not including the homeless, or what is Melina, the houseless population. Let's not even say homeless, the houseless population. That's another population needs to be part of returning citizens.
Please don't invite a General Jeff, invite us to Suzette Shaw. Thank you.
And Sister Shaw, if I may say, you know, one of the things that we do, most of us in here are either loosely connected or connected through other organizations. So if we call at any given time, folks will come from all San Bernardino, Riverside, San Diego, Azusa, Pomona. We come together. Let me say this to you, dear sister, you know, and I agree with you 1,000%. We service at our Inglewood office over 350 families, many of those that are homeless, and we don't charge them a fee based on the work that this brother and other folks are doing in the community. So I just want you to know you're among family.
I appreciate it. I just want you to say, you know, General Jeff, a few months ago, I said, how many nonprofits in Skid Row have black women sitting on your boards? And because I made that comment, General Jeff said, we don't need you advocating for this community. Because, see, people have their own agendas. I'm just saying.
And let me say this, sister, you bring some good points, but I can vouch for the people up here. You know, we work for a cause, not applause.
There you go.
And let me be real clear, because I'm going to be very frank with you. See, some of us that have been in this movement that have given our life to this movement, in my case, 43 years, 7 months, 9 days, and 26 minutes. Okay? Sister, I am traumatized. Let me be real clear. When you see real soldiers and soldierettes that are putting in work, we have to build this false resilience around us because we come into so much marginalization, so much pain, and what drives us to continue to do the work is because we know the pain. We have felt the pain. We have been there. So we know at the end of the day, if we don't bring the proper infrastructure, if we don't bring the equitable services, if we don't bring the resiliency of the collaborations that are going to raise our people so they can take ownership, we know what is going to happen and where they're going to go. They're going to self-destruct. That's what drives us. But in that process, we are in pain. We have to shun away all the pain. We have to shun away the bloodshed, the families broken, the destruction, the fact that we know we've been in this work and we're still at the same damn starting point we did 30, 40, 50 years ago. So understand this, your role, what you can do for us, that's why that collaboration becomes so important. When I'm at 40% and I can't give nobody 100% if I'm at 40, you got to step in there and say, brother, I'll take it today. I'll take it for you today because you ain't there. You understand? And that's why we've got to have the love, the respect, and the appreciation and value each other that does this type of work because we are the only ones that know the pain of this work. Outside of that circle, they don't understand the passion and drive that keeps us alive and makes us move forward. So what we have to do is unify with those that get it, understand it, have the tenacity, the willpower, the wherewithal, the sacrifice, and the discipline to understand we're going to move this process.
I just have to say, I've been 5 years. I tell the executive directors of my
gotta get-
community,
so the camera
I
can
do
get you. You in the right place.
I'm 5 years of GR, $220 a month. But every day I'm out here on these front lines. So you want to talk about trauma? I know trauma all too well. I lost my bloody mind.
Work,
ended up
that's what
out
I'm
here.
saying.
But
We've
I'm
got to work together, sister. We've got to work together. Look, it can't be like all of you driving down the highway, you in all them lanes, trying to do everything, causing all kind of accidents. Stay in your lane, and we will get it done.
My lane is wherever your lane is, and that one lane, and that one lane.
There we go.
I want
All
to
right,
say this.
let me bring a few more questions in because we're moving on time. I see I'm coming over there right here. This young man right here.
First off, I just want to thank you all for coming. It's just great wisdom and knowledge to be able to be in this space to share with y'all. I am a student leader here on campus, formerly incarcerated, born and raised in Watts, California. Been through the struggle, lost family and friends, and
It's okay.
Take your time. Take your time, G.
It's okay.
You at home with his family.
So last year, we started a formerly incarcerated student group on campus. We graduated 14 students that have been either formerly incarcerated or directly impacted. They're called Underground Scholars Initiative. And as I ended up being the only one that stayed from all the graduates because I'm starting my master's program here this year. And as I continue the group, everything you're talking about is so relevant because they're trying to oppress our community, they're trying to control our community here, they're trying to dictate our direction. And just to get you guys' feedback, because I feel we're in a positive space because we have the power, like you said, we are the students. You can say everything you want, but if you got no students, you ain't serving us. And if, we're just dictating how you going to serve us and the way you're going to serve us by giving us the resources and empowerment to serve ourselves because that's the way it should be and that's the way it's going to be. And I just need you guys' help because, as you guys said, because it could be here while I'm here, but when I leave, these motherfuckers are like sharks. They're going to be ready to take it down and to change the direction of the program. And I would love to get your insight on it because we're in a powerful place.
So let me, Javi, thanks. So that program he's talking about is Underground Scholars Initiative, which started at Cal Berkeley. Danny Murillo, is Danny in the house? Danny's one of the founders of that program. Flacco. So I'm a returning citizen. I said, fuck UCLA. I'm going to just keep it real. I got accepted to UCLA twice. I was a psych major with a 3.8 GPA, Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society. They tried to put me in the African American Studies program. How come I can't be a psych major, right? And no disrespect, if Melina was here, God bless her, right? We'd get in this verbal joust. Well, Mont, you can do so much with the African American Studies program, right? You're right, but Melina, my last 18 months, I laid down on that bed at Sheridan, Oregon. What can I do to be a felony-friendly profession, and that's like an inside joke, people to know me. Nigga, you flooded half the goddamn country with all that good cocaine, now you want to be a drug counselor? Right, but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so UCLA put me in the African American Studies program, and Javi knows, once you get that acceptance letter, it's like they call you nonstop, the alumni, the students, congratulations, you're a Bruin now. I was like, okay, but I'm tripping because I'm a psych major and they put me in African American Studies program. What am I supposed to do, right? It got all the way up to at the time she was the new vice chancellor of admissions. I forgot the young lady's name. And the soon-to-be retired Mr. UCLA, Keith Parker, who's a family friend and one of my top 5 mentors. He was even. I'm like, Keith, I'm struggling, man. I mean, I'm fresh out the feds, 2 years, and I got accepted to UCLA. Santa Barbara accepted me, put me in a psych program. I'm just not ready to leave LA yet. I got 2 grandbabies, and the mistakes I made raising my kids, right? I look like the man upstairs gave me a second chance with my grandbabies. They're now 4 years old, 31 days apart, and that's my life. You understand me? But I'm like, you know, this is the conversation that we've been having, and that's the perfect example. These institutions of higher education, they're using our population to manipulate us. A shitload of money coming down now, and it's a divide and conquer thing, and I don't really want to get into the politics of it because I'm going to be doing business with UCLA too, but Javi, this is my crew. These other people. I met this brother right here. It was a gang summit. When they invited me to, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago? I've been knowing Khalid. I know his sister, Holly Davis. I used to work in the recording industry. His sister's a world-renowned movie producer, works with a good friend of mine who was a world-renowned casting director. Anyway, invited me to this gang summit. I'm like, yo, what you got me here for? I'm not no gangbanger. And Khalid was like, yeah, we know, man, but your former lifestyle, you parlayed that to this. I said, get everybody stop killing themselves. Then I'm showing them how to go to school and get them paid to go to school and education, right? You know, remember when we were all youngsters, your people used to say, yo, go to school, get your education. They take everything away from you but your education, you know, and I think I've shared this story. Feds took a little bit over $1.2 million from me in cash over an 18-month investigation, federal investigation, joint task force. Then I forfeited another $235,000 cash, right? I got the mandatory minimum, right? But the point being, your education is everything. So this is where it's at right here. It levels the playing field with certain folks. And this is my partner. This is another fellow right here, Marina Bell. She's a 4-year doctoral student. She's from the Bay too. So, and she gets it, right? She's a person of non-color, but she understands what we're talking about, right? We've been talking about this shit since we became fellows, right? But Javi, and that's my dude, right? That underground scholars, that initial cohort, Irvin, I got like 3, 4 of those initial 4 are my mentees, people I've worked with, right? So to see all of the bullshit, for lack of a better word, and the manipulation of our population on this campus, right? That's not cool. That's that bullshit. You know, we need to be at the table when you're making decisions about us. You guys are academia or academicians, like Akil says. How are you going to get all this money and then tell us what to do or what's best practices, best models to deal with our population? You can't do that. You know, with that being said, I think Danny Center's a question.
Another question.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you very much. This is more of a comment and maybe a little direction, if I could do that. I've heard words movement, collectivity, controlling your own narrative, disengaging from the game. And I've also heard the word pimp and poverty pimp. And the pimp game requires a hoe and a trick. And it's not just one. So if you're in that game, you're either the pimp, the hoe, or the trick. So you have to disengage from that game. And this money that's coming down reminds me of what they call development assistance on a global scale. And if we look at the community of the majority of people who are incarcerated, that's the black community of African descendant peoples. And African people in America are a colony, a neo-colony. Used to be described as the problem, the Negro problem of the Negro people. How do they solve it? And someone mentioned the way to kill the movement was to introduce the drugs and incarceration. But another way the movement was killed was through the other pimp game called electoral politics. And you can't do it through electoral politics. That's impossible. That's not happening. The system is corrupt, and it is designed to keep you as a colony. So one of the things is, if you control your narrative and you understand that, and it's there, I've listened closely, it's there, that people are speaking in different ways, but there's a core element that needs to be brought out and organized around that core thread that you hear resonating in the room. And just a little bit about myself, I'm OG, and I go back to the original Soledad Brothers Committee, organizing here in Los Angeles, in California. So respect to that, and something needs to come out of this other than personal testimonies, as kind of we're into that more than saying, how do we deal with this thing that is producing homelessness? How do we deal with the thing that is producing the incarceration rates in America? How do we storm the Bastille and tear it down and liberate and let the captives go?
My brother, thank you, sir. My brother, good brother, I just want to give you a shout out personally from Big Skip. Peace to you.
Yes.
You know, you said something, brother, and that's why elders are so important. You know, let's talk about answers and solutions. See, back in the day, when we were in the movement, we would never leave a venue like this and not have a 5, 10, 15-point hit list of what needed to be done. We tasked each other with certain responsibilities and ownership when we left there. We have to go back to having strategic meetings to where we're meeting on a bi-monthly basis. And from those strategies, we got to start designing operational structure and processes. Because, see, when you step in front of the entities, the municipalities, et cetera, they have this trick that they use. The first thing they're going to ask you, they'll sit there and listen to you, and then they say, well, okay, what's your answer? What's the solution? And far too often, most of us operate on emotionalism as opposed to preactive thinking. So we don't go in there with systems. We don't go there with the process. So they look and they'll shake their head up and down. Okay, good to hear from you. And then they walk out the door. See, they didn't bring anything to the table. We have to stop being emotionally reactors and become strategic responders. We have to go in with protocol. We have to go in with structure that that has been proven. Look, let me tell you something. My operation, we're in 6 prisons on the federal level, et cetera. If you're not doing any work behind the walls with the brothers and sisters, don't talk about what's going on out here now. You have to reintroduce. Look, you've got to bring them back into a normal. In that lockdown mindset, psychological dysfunction occurs. Brothers lose so much of their onus of greatness. Sisters don't come out with the ability. It's almost like a 10, 15, 20-year time zone to where nothing is moved. When they step out, they've got to have housing. They've got to have the ability to define where they're going. They got to have economic generators. They've got to have certain things that's going to give them stability so they can reacclaim their normal. That normal then creates functionality, which leads to short-term, hopefully long-term stability. That's what causes them not to go back in the venue. But if you don't change that dynamic, if you don't change the psychological direction that got me there and give me options to use when I'm in and when I get back out, I'm going to self-destruct. That's why so many brothers go back in the pen, so many sisters go back in, because they have got nothing to change the thinking dynamic. They come out here thinking that there's this resilient safety net and it's a hollow hole. They fall right through it. They come out that damn rehab center for 6 months and ain't nothing there on the street because too many of us are running around trying to create the insulation of building our house on the hill. If we understand we're there for the people, we serve the people, we're going to do everything to get the people to where they need to be at today. So what we need to do real quickly, we need to make sure we've got strategic sessions going on. We need to make sure we're partnering in multidisciplinary collaborations that are driving the process. We need to make sure we bring all our expertise to the table and start creating the toolboxes, which is going to define how we operate. And lastly, this is what politicians fear. This is what municipalities feel. No arrogance, Ben, but I've been around the world numerous of times. What they fear is numbers. They fear unified collaboration of the people they serve. So we have got to put our agendas aside, come in with that power base of numbers, and dictate with one voice what we want. And we've got to stop all trying to lead the damn process and let those that have the ability that have been there lead the process and get behind them and respect that.
I have to just say this. I just have to.
Nobody's stopping you, sister. Say it.
So, I believe loose lips sink ships, right? Everything I've been able to get done, really, I didn't have to put it out there on blast, because let me tell you something. Every time we come to these spaces and start writing up all of our great brain power ideas, put up them sticky papers and all them different dots and stuff, our stuff get taken off and sent somewhere else, and somebody else creating a program with our intellectual property, and we never seen it. See, those days is over for a girl like me. For a girl like me. You know what I'm saying? Now, I can sit in a group of twos and fews, and we can talk and collaborate, but I would never lay out what I really intend to do with a strategic plan in front of all y'all, because I don't know y'all like that.
Come on.
I don't know you like that. You see what I'm saying? Now, we supposed to come here and get connections and create some networks so we can move forward. But I would tell you, as I sit here today, I can think back to Martin Luther King. I can look at Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, the Black Panthers, all that. And I got to ask myself, how are we still here when we have some soldiers on the front line? But I understood how the FBI and the CIA came in here and took them plans and then put them out there on blast and then turn everybody against each other. See, that will not be my story. That would not be my story. So if anything else, I can learn from the mistakes of those great ones that went before us. Because it is a fact we're fighting the same fight today. And we will not use the master's tool to dismantle the master. We cannot do the same thing over again, expect different results. That's what crack people do. You can't keep hitting that pipe, you're going to get high. You can't keep doing that. We got to change. We got to change the game. Change the lanes. We got to be innovative. We got to think out the box. We can't stay in the box. It sounds real prolific and all that strategic collaboration plan 3 to 5 years from now, what you're going to do. This brother right here said he is in a school right now that won't even allow him to get the education that he's supposed to be praying for. Probably getting a loan right now for some school loan. He can't even get taught what he want to get taught. Talk about how he going to go to the UC Board of Regents, the UC Regents, go up there with some signs and go up there and let them know that right now, one more time, my taxpayer dollars being deducted from my check, but not be able to go to that institution, pay for my education. Talk about that. See, our checks, we got these little jobs we get, our money comes out of those checks instantly, paying to the government. See, we are the government. We are the people. Without us, there is no them. So we have to act like that's our money and go up there and speak about your money and what's happening with the institution. Because, see, a lot of stuff happened right here at UCLA. So I don't expect them to be sitting around letting y'all get so organized and prolific around here and getting all these PhDs and stuff, no PhDs.
Well, this young lady has a question. She's been waiting to ask the panel. So let me.
First of all, thank you guys for being here and sharing your expertise and wisdom. This is really important for especially the young people who are interested in continuing what you guys have started to learn from you. My question is, we were talking about budget advocacy and not using the master's tools to find the solution. But then, what are the tools? So, with the example of Prop 47 and the county gets 50% and then they have to split it with the community organizations, when the community organizations should be getting 100%. The issue that you run across sometimes is that the community organization doesn't have the ability to do the program evaluation or do all those technical things that come with the grant. And so I'm just wondering what the solution to that problem is.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump in first, if y'all don't mind. So let me just establish something real quick here. 17 years in elective office, 8 years in the Office of the Secretary of Commerce, United States Department of Commerce, designing a program that helped rebuild Los Angeles after earthquakes and fires. 6 years in the County Economic Development Department here in Los Angeles County, evaluating and developing child care facility finance programs, looking at the system from around. If the legislature had passed Prop 47 and said, we want 80% to come to local organizations and describe the form that those funds came, the county would have been fine with 20. All right? That didn't happen because the legislature, most of the folks who've gotten elected in Sacramento are not doers. They've been staff, they've been professionals in other areas, but they've not been on the ground. They've not run a community-based nonprofit organization and don't respect the capabilities and the expertise. All right, that's piece one. Piece two is, to the extent that in this community of nonprofits, of community-based organizations, for years now, the notion of collaboration, the notion of evaluative tools used to evaluate effectiveness and to develop sustainability models has been the passion and the process, not a conversation. Only now is the state and the legislature, in particular, beginning to adopt those systems. So they would not expect, because they don't respect, that expertise and that knowledge to rest in this frame. And then finally, if it was the great legislature of the state of California, where the UC system exists, and the private institutions exist, and the CSUs exist, and most of them will fly on their bios that they graduated from one of those systems, they should have known that the process of evaluating and demonstrating and effectively addressing problems begins at the local level. So it wasn't their intent. Their intent was to say, we are doing something about it. Their intent wasn't to be successful in that delivery. Their intent was to look like they were responding, but in the same manner to support the same institutions and systems that have been a part of the oppression. Probation and the sheriff be responsible for reentry? Really? Really? The agency that now will I will remind you that I told you I spent 17 years in elective office at the local level. But I was trained as a technocrat before the first day I ever stepped in and ran for office. I was involved in this process at a very young age. I remember, and I say this not to brag, but to establish a context here. I grew up thinking everybody was involved in elective politics because my mother was. All right? I jumped on the bus after school to get to the Wilshire headquarters of Kennedy campaign for president because my mother was the office manager. So I got there. I sat later on in life as a junior high school and an early high school student with Bungie Carter's mother in her living room as she talked to other community folks and helped us understand what her son was going through here as a student at UCLA as we talked about where we wanted to go to school. I've been the beneficiary of that knowledge that's been shared by those who've been not only on the front line, but been running over on that line. And so when I got elected at the age of 26, I had no peers. I was me. And the unfortunate part of it was I was me, but had the skills and knowledge of every other elected official here and some who weren't yet elected. And I chose to work in this environment because it's where I came from. My first campaign fundraiser was high school students at Morningside and Inglewood High School in the 80s. Two schools that were at war with the world, Bloods and Crips. And people told me, you crazy, you can't have them do a fundraiser for you. We had no paid or professional security and no incidents. We had the slammingest party in the world at the Kappa House, all right? Because I was a Kappa, because I am a Kappa, can't say was. Raised at $2,500, my campaign got off the ground. But I knew how to do it. And if I don't share what I know, if I don't transfer my knowledge and expertise that's developed by working here, then I'm not doing myself, my family, my legacy any good. I won't have, as the Killiff said, made sure that the folks coming up behind me, when I take a seat and step out the way so they can lead, that they have the skills and the resources and the knowledge and most importantly, the heart to move forward. That's why we're here today. We want to make sure that you understand that we don't just loosely talk about it. We're committed. He doesn't have to ask us to fall in line to support his need here at UCLA. He just has to indicate he has a need. All right? We're going to be here. To the extent that the legislature, and I say this knowing that some of them I helped raise. Thank you. Some people y'all going to recognize tomorrow. Lamont, I'm telling you in front of an audience, so I can't be here tomorrow because I'm going to say something. I cannot. Because I thought about it today. There are people who are in office now who have the opportunity to get it right, who've been trained to get it right and didn't get it right. And if I don't call card because I know, then I'm doing a disservice to you all right? We cannot afford another decade of slip sliding, want to get elected folks who don't want to be committed to the work that needs to get done. I can't be a part of it. I just can't. I got 22-year-old daughter, 26-year-old daughter, 27-year-old son. I got grandkids in college. And I tell them, as you've heard today, that my 22-year-old has read and is rereading Akil's book because she wants to, not because I said, here's a book for you to read. I just had it out. And she was like, what's this about? And I said, well, first of all, you need to know the brother who wrote it. Then I can tell you what it's about. So she came back. She said, okay, I've read about him. Now tell me about it. So this is the work we do. She's taking that on. It's, I would love to have been a UCLA student, but that's not what she wanted to do. She wants to be a culinary artist. She's a chef. Like, it won't cook me anything. But I digress. So let me say this, because we've got 10 minutes. I'm doing a time check again. I'd probably use up half of it.
But
We're almost
this is the last panel.
This is the last panel. But remember, I told you my wife has got you on a clock. So you better be
I
careful.
don't want no problems out of Christian.
Let me ask each of you, in deference to the brother in the back and to the sister who just raised this point, what 5 things, give them 5 brief explanations, can they do now to move this forward? What 5 things? Kim, you want to start?
I will. I'll make it quick.
Okay.
The first thing you could do is be true to you. What is it that brings you to this work? You need to find that thing that excites you, that puts you on fire, that passion, that gives you that passion, because you're going to need that for the long haul. Second is don't overthink it, right? It's really simple. Things must change. The third thing is don't neglect your family, right? I lost a husband to this movement because I was basically out on the front line grinding. That's what God had for me. So take care of yourself. The fourth thing is don't be afraid to use your voice. Use your voice. You're not invisible. Your voice matters. You're not never in a room with somebody that's more important than you. I tell my girls when they come up in here, you the most important what? She go there frozen. I tell them to come to this conference, don't be afraid of none of y'all in here. I tell them they the most important person up in here.
That's right.
Wherever room you go in, whatever panel you at, don't look around here and go, who are you the most important person in here? Because at the end of the day, without you, none of this would even be possible. We didn't even have a conversation, right? And that's about it.
That's 5.
So for me, Kim said you got to be honest with yourself, first of all, right? Number 2, you have to, and I'm speaking from experience, pick and choose your battles wisely, because we're the minority in this thing. I got beat up. Danny will tell you, these people will tell you right here, speaking out so much, going up against that beast, the LA Community College District. I fought that case for 22 months. I fought my federal case for 58 months, but I fought the LA Community College District. So that was shit. It was the fact, what they charged me with, and the money I had to spend to defend myself not to go back to federal prison for some bullshit for speaking out. So pick and choose your battles wisely, effective time management, get you a good support network, and then just keep it real. You got to keep it real, but make sure a winner never quits and a quitter never wins, right? Make sure the space you in, you got to be able to look up in that mirror every morning and know that you maintain your integrity and dignity, and this is what you really want to do, because somebody's going to call you on it. And before I pass the mic, so this is a former elected official, and he's speaking some real shit. He's telling you what the other current elected officials are talking. After I beat my case, several elected officials called me, congratulations, you beat that case. I'm like, man, fuck you. They're like, what? Fuck you, you didn't hear it right. And I'm telling you, these are elected officials, right? When it was all good and I'm out pushing the line, working with them, right, they were right there with me, right? As soon as that shit hit the press and the media, they acted like I had the plague or something, right? Fought that case, I see him at events. Danny stuck with me, these people right here stuck with me, right? I was at the White House with President Obama. We talking shit like East Oakland Old School playing the Chi-Town player, right?
The president don't talk shit, darling.
Anyway, what point I'm trying to make, right? Those elected officials, they're in a position to change policy right now, and they're not doing it. And he helped raise them.
Very quickly, be true to yourself. I agree 100%. But also, what's important is to realize that this struggle is not an overnight struggle. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And if you believe in your heart, if you really about people, then you'll be able to do this work. If you're not, it'll kill you, straight up. Staying connected, trying to keep a positive mental attitude, because it will also beat you down. You know, I thought because I stood up and tried to do something right, everybody was going to come and whistles was going to blow and it was going to be parades all up and down the streets. They threw rocks in my window. You're absolutely right.
Keyed your
so
car.
stay positive. Stay positive. And you know, the other thing I want to say, first, before I could do that, I want to thank all of those folks in this room that are doing positive work. There's nobody greater or lesser than nobody else. Sister Karen, Sister Kim, Brother Akil, my brother, and all of you who are not named here, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for caring. Don't matter who you are, where you come from, man, thank you. And just be about yourself, man, and be about this community. Thank you.
I'm going to give you 7, but I got to use a little quick 10 seconds to clarify to my sister. I'm in total agreement with you. When I talk about, real quickly, community unification and strategic planning, the first thing in the street, we call it a license to operate. You qualify everybody. See, I was part of the COINTEL movement. I watched the COINTEL movement destroy my inner circle, destroy my family, destroy certain people around me. I've got so many scars and bruises on my back, it's ludicrous. I've been shot, I've been stabbed through this whole process. So I want to say, because of that, we have to qualify that unification, but we have to unify as a collaborative organization to move the process forward. Let me give you my 7 things real quick. We've got to create some type of training institute. We've got to be able to pass down the knowledge base to those that don't have the knowledge base, creating some form of process where the information is getting down to those so the circle keeps building itself and keeps transforming. Secondly, we got to create community sentinels. We got to have advocates on the ground who are at every venue where processes and policies are being put in place. We've got to have representatives in that process, number one. And number 2, we got to have representatives in that process that know how to challenge that process. Number 3, we got to have community roundtables. We've got to be talking to each other. We got to have voices to where we can strategize in these roundtables. Look, public service is not public service anymore. The public has been removed out of public service. The institutions fall up under the concept of public service on a national, international level. So we've got to be in the public service system putting it down. Number 4, we got to have community safety hubs. We've got to have safe geographical areas to where we can talk, to where we can bring information out, to where we can know our information is not going to be stolen by individuals that shouldn't be there because we screened them before they got their behinds up in there. All right? Number 5, we've got to have a behind-the-wall initiative. Everybody, we've got to be in every damn detention center, every damn prison. We got to be dealing before they go in, when they in, and when they come out. Third, we've got to develop national, regional safety networks to where we are linking ourselves with other cities, creating that holistic unification and that body of knowledge. And lastly, we've got to pull all that together and create a unified structure that can create templates that are going to be utilized to make sure we can drop those templates in other marginalized communities. If we only getting it done in Los Angeles, we ain't doing a damn thing. If we can't take it across the nation, if we can't take it across the world, damn it, and get it done right, we're not doing anything. Let's don't fool ourselves.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. First, I'm gonna say we need to have self-care, because in this work, I deal with a lot of stuff that I don't want to take home and reflect to other people. So self-care is a must. Secondly, what's her name, G, on the wall? I'm gonna take his. We need that because we need to start. We need to start exposing these people that's out here, that's getting this money, that's really supposed to be doing the work, and they're not. So they need to be put on blast. They need to, and y'all need to support us. If we say that we not messing with these people, y'all need to support us, and we need to go to these people that's giving this fund, whether it's probation, whether it's the government. Tell them, look, we don't want no more money dispensed unless we sitting at the table to say who's getting this money. Because I've got some of this money, and I'm seeing all the crookedness of you giving me money, but yet you got these workers that work for you come to me. I have to go to your mandatory training to teach me how to write a grant, to teach me how to develop a program, strategist, a fundraiser, all these things that they have, and each one of these persons has a title, right? They're getting paid, right, for nothing. Because they're training me. I don't need them. Just give, like you said, give me the money. I'll go find somebody. Like this sister might need a job. I'm going to go hire her before I let them send somebody to me. And more importantly, the last thing I want to say is that believe in something that you will die for. It's like, I like something that I heard. This man said he look at life like there's two treadmills right here, right? He's on one, you're on the other one, right? He's not going to stop running. He's going to die if it takes that for him to reach his goal. That's what we should all be doing, is struggle for us. And I want to address this sister right here. The sisters was the backbone of all our people, black people. I'm speaking for black people, right? And I commend all the sisters that did it, because my mother was one of them. My sister, my aunt is right in the audience back there, right? But like the brother said, when a brother is ready, because we suffer, as black people, we suffer from psychological justice of slavery, right? And it's today, it's still here. But once you become conscious, you know that, you owe that. I owe that. All of us owe that. We're doing the work, right? When we are at that status, let us lead. Let the brother lead. There are brothers out here. Every one of us is doing that. Right. Thank you. Right. Thank you.
Right. So let me answer an unasked question. Why am I not in elective office? I'm young enough to still be in office. I'm active enough to still be in office. But I believed in something. I believed that a formerly incarcerated individual should have a second chance. So I hired a sister who had served in the California correctional system, served her sentence, had received her letter of rehabilitation and a letter saying she served her allotted time because she worked on the fire lines while she was in prison, all right? And so her sentence was commuted. I hired her as my assistant. She made $620 a month. She could only work 20 hours a week because of the city charter in the city of Inglewood. I got elected mayor with her as my assistant, and 5 elections in a year. And then in the 5th election, running against a former police chief, who is now the mayor, they made an issue of her working in my office as a formerly incarcerated individual a major campaign issue. Editorials came out, letters came to the editor, people came to the rallies and demonstrated, didn't want her near the budget. She could steal the money, didn't want her confusing the issues. All right, forget the truth, forget the facts, forget that she now is working on her PhD at the University of Texas, that she earned her master's degree at Berkeley. Forget all that. That she was a mother of 2 who got convicted of welfare fraud because she had used some of the funds to pay for her mortgage to ensure that her children did not have to sleep in a car. She served her time. I hired her because she knew the community. She had worked in the community. She had been PTA president. She'd been a school board member. She had a skill set that I needed as an elected official to help represent folks in the community. I could have, as many suggested, asked her to step down. I could have forcibly, demonstrably fired her just to make the point that I'm a good, law-abiding individual. I didn't do that because I believed in what I did when I hired her. That I made the right decision, and I was going to ride and die with that decision. All right? All right? And when the voters decided they wanted a new mayor, that they wanted somebody who really represented law and order, I was happy with that because voters get what they deserve. And I knew that they didn't at that moment deserve me. Right?
Well said.
That's how I looked at it.
Well said.
I'm still living, I'm still working. This work will get done. We will contribute to it. We are we now. All right? This conference, the challenge for you and your cohort here at UCLA is to take this conversation and organize it so that we can get some work done on behalf of the students and on behalf of this community. Lamont, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this facilitation. Y'all, family, good to see y'all. Ain't nothing changed but the date. And underwear.